So, today we're going to dive into something you might think you know all about, software security. But trust me, this story doesn't start with the internet. It's actually a century-long war, this constant back and forth between hackers and engineers that has kind of quietly shaped the entire digital world we live in.
I mean, when I say the word hacker, what picture pops into your head? Probably someone in a hoodie, right? Maybe you're thinking about the early 2000s, the rise of the internet. Most of us assume hacking is a pretty modern thing, born right alongside the World Wide Web.
But that's just one chapter in a much, much bigger book. The real story, this incredible battle between breaking things and building stronger things, actually started almost 100 years ago, long before the first website ever came online.
To get started, we're not going to Silicon Valley. We have to go back to the battlefields of World War II. Because it was in the 1930s that we saw the dawn of really sophisticated cryptography, and right along with it, the world's very first hackers.
Okay, check this out. This is the Enigma machine. Now, for its time, this thing was a complete technological marvel. The German military used it to send messages that they were absolutely convinced were unbreakable. It kind of looks like a typewriter, but with every single key press, a super complex system of rotors would scramble the letter into what just looked like total nonsense.
The tech behind it is what we call a symmetric key algorithm. The easiest way to think about it is like a physical key for a door. You need the exact same key to both lock the door and to unlock it. For Enigma, that key was the machine's specific rotor configuration. Same key to encrypt, same key to decrypt. But here's where it gets amazing. This is where our first hackers come into the picture. A team of absolutely brilliant Polish mathematicians, led by a guy named Marian Rejewski. Well, they didn't have the key. So they did something that was just incredible. They analyzed patterns in the encrypted messages and manually, with pen and paper, reverse engineered how the machine worked. They literally picked the lock using pure mathematics.
As the war went on, the Germans kept making the Enigma more and more complex, and cracking it by hand just wasn't possible anymore. So the Allies launched a technological counterattack. This massive machine here is the Bombay. It's this electromechanical beast developed by Alan Turing's team, and it was basically one of the world's first automated hacking tools.
So how did it work? Well, Turing used this genius strategy that we now call a known plaintext attack. See, his team knew that the Germans sent a detailed weather report at the exact same time every single day. Because they could guess part of the original message, words like weather, they could use the Bombay to just blitz through thousands of possible Enigma settings to find the one that fit. And just like that, the unbreakable code was broken every single day.
So after the war, the battleground totally shifts. It moves from military intelligence to public infrastructure. As telephone networks started spreading everywhere, a new kind of tinkerer showed up, and hacking became this quirky and sometimes illegal hobby.
Welcome to the age of the phreakers. These guys figured out that AT&T's big, new automated phone system used a very specific audio tone, 2600 Hz, as an internal signal. By making that same sound, they could trick the system into giving them free long-distance calls. And the most famous story? A guy named John Draper discovered that a little toy whistle inside boxes of Cap'n Crunch cereal produced the perfect tone. You can't make this stuff up.
And this whole thing perfectly illustrates a huge lesson in security. The phone engineers, they designed the system for the best case scenario, right? They just assumed everyone would use it the way it was intended. They never planned for someone with a little too much curiosity. The phreakers proved that if you don't plan for the worst case, your system is going to get broken.
So, of course, the engineers had to fight back. They developed DTMF, which you probably know as touch tones. Now, each key press sends out two different frequencies at the same time. That was way harder to fake with a simple toy whistle. It's another perfect example of this cat and mouse game, the defense innovating because of the attack.
But, the game was evolving past just phone lines. As personal computers started showing up in homes, the stakes got a lot higher. In 1988, something called the Morris worm became the first virus to spread like wildfire across the early internet, causing millions of dollars in damage. And that was the moment hacking officially went from being a mischievous hobby to a very serious crime.
And that, of course, brings us to the biggest shift in this entire story, the rise of the World Wide Web. It created a brand new, totally global battleground, and it changed the face of hacking forever.
Think about it. Back in the 90s, the web was basically a digital library, a giant encyclopedia. You could look stuff up, read it, but that was pretty much it.
Fast forward just 10 years, and it's a full-blown application platform. You've got user accounts, you're shopping, you're on social media, you're basically running your life on it.
This jump from Web 1.0, which was like a one-way street for information, to the totally interactive world of Web 2.0 was a revolution. But by letting us put our own data into the system, it also opened up a whole universe of new ways things could go wrong.
With the servers and networks getting tougher and tougher to crack, hackers did the smart thing. They turned their attention to the new weakest link in the chain, us, the users. This is when we started seeing phishing attacks trying to steal our passwords, cross-site scripting, which runs malicious code right in your browser, and these massive denial-of-service attacks that could shut down huge websites.
So when you look back at this whole history, what's the real takeaway? What's the pattern? Well, it's this never-ending cycle of attack, defense, and then innovation that just keeps repeating.
I mean, the pattern is crystal clear when you lay it out. You start with cryptographic warfare. Then it moves to telephone hacking, then computer viruses, and finally to attacking the web user directly. Every time one layer gets secured, the attacks just find the next, newest, weakest part of the whole system.
And hey, let's be clear, we have made some incredible progress. Today's web browsers and network protocols are like fortresses compared to what they used to be. They have powerful encryption and sandboxing that protect us every single day, mostly without us even noticing.
Which of course brings up the big question. If everything is so secure now, does that mean the war is finally over? That the good guys win?
Not even close. The battleground just did what it always does. It shifted.
See, the modern hacker isn't trying to break your browser anymore. That's just too hard. Instead, they're targeting the massive, unbelievably complex code of the applications we use every day. They're looking for tiny bugs, vulnerabilities, and shared open-source code that everyone uses, and they're even exploiting flaws in a company's own business logic. The war has moved from the foundation of the building to the penthouse skyscraper built on top of it.
This constant cycle of attack and defense has literally fueled security innovation for 100 years. It forced us to go from cracking codes by hand to automated machines, from simple whistles to complex digital signals, and from insecure networks to fortified browsers. So as we look to the future, to things like AI, quantum computing, and whatever's next, the real question is, where do you think the battleground is going to shift next?